Righto.
Just everybody at the live page.
Ooh. Going to be live now?
Yeah.
Ah.
Apparently so. Hmm. Do we say stuff? What do we do? I've forgotten.
Yeah,
It's been a
you
week.
might sort of say stuff to the people's...
Oh, that's what you do, is it?
Yeah.
Hello. Hello, chat. How are you?
Oh, we've got to say hello.
Yes, I have to say hello.
And you made it to the live page.
To all those new people that saw me over the weekend, I have 100% sympathy for you.
Do you want me to stay in your ear or drop the call once I'm typing in?
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I was happy to do whatever you like.
Okay. Who is Rid's younger brother? Yes.
Yes, Rob. It's my clone. That's just been recently defrosted.
The hair follicles didn't clone properly though.
No.
There's always a problem with clones, isn't there?
In time.
Fast Tech didn't get the beard right.
Oh.
Apparently, according to Mike B, I smile and wave. Do I ever smile?
I've never seen you smile.
It's very fast to have this. I like I don't know, jazz.
Yeah. Yes, Keith, you did see the other half's elbow. And Gordon, it is a little bit sunburned, but I turned pink under
you see,
my light.
the problem we got, Rid, you see, the way I'm sitting is that the immediately to the left of you is kind of cut off on my head.
I don't know. I can't see. It's that annoying flip reverse thing.
Doesn't help that you're looking at me through a different camera than the one that and it gets all weird.
Yeah, perspective.
2 minutes.
Is that a new shirt, sir?
What shirt? This one?
The one you're wearing?
I got this one at Vape Jam. No, it's not new.
Oh, I saw a load of those on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Thought they were giving away for free, but...
Yeah, well, this one was given away for free as well, because I didn't pay for it.
You said, do you know who I am?
I say, young sir, do you have any idea who I am, in which capacity I serve?
And was the response, no, but hesitation.
No, bugger off, you silly bugger. Yeah, right, then, fair enough.
Or in my case, if it was Morph, do you know who I sound like?
1 minute.
1 minute. Oh, look, chat's starting to fill up a little bit. Come on, more people coming. Come on, don't be shy.
Come on, you 17 lurkers.
16 now.
16.
Chat one bite, unless you're lucky. 30 was that?
30, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to put the bug on then. See you in a bit. Hello, and welcome to Wednesday. It is Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday. I'm not ill. I don't have a hot water bottle on my head and stuff. There's Rhydian. Hello, Rhydian.
Oh,
Yes. Right. Not so much Vapefest stuff tonight, actually. I thought I'd give you guys a bit of a break from it because there's going to be more Vapefest stuff tomorrow night. So, you know, if you don't want to sort of ruin your appetite, like. So, but kind of Vapefest related in a little roundabout sort of way. But anyway, after the titles, we'll get into all that sort of thing. So, yeah, see you in a moment.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of VapeTrails.tv.
Right, hot off the press. Leanna Lourdes has found her soldering iron. We shall fully expect many, many builds of DNA-related items from her very, very soon. Apparently they were with a bunch of net curtains. Yeah, okay. Right, shall we crack on, Rich, shall we? Shall we do that?
I think we should.
Right then. So to start this evening's proceedings, Rhydian has got a lot of bottle, apparently. So we're going to play some VT, and then I'm sure chat might have a few things to ask Mr. Man when we come back. So after the VT shall be the adverts. After the adverts shall be a little Q&A with Mr. Man. See you in a bit.
Hi. Right, in this VT I'm going to have a quick look at UK, EU e-liquids versus American e-liquids. Basically what we should expect in terms of labelling, with a slight skew towards TPD because, you know, like, they have the cross-border sales, imports and stuff like that in the TPD drafts. So it's going to be a look at the background on the labelling from the UK EU standpoint, so that's chip and CLP, and have a look at the juices, and then further information about labelling regarding nicotine, and my thoughts. So let's crack on. Let's go to screen capture mode. Right. So what did we have in the beginning before all the current changes? Basically we had chip, and chip dates back from about the 1970s, and the last update to chip was in 2009. So what does chip stand for? It stands for Chemicals, Hazard Information and Packaging for Supply Regulations. So basically that means if you're supplying any chemical which can be hazardous, it's got to have the right information on it, and it's got to be packed properly. So what does it stand in terms of labelling? Basically, these are the old style labels under chip. So you've got squares, you've got an orange background with black outlined images. So what are we got here? We've got explosive, oxidizing, flammable, toxic, corrosive, irritant or harmful. And we've got the weird looking tree with a pathetic attempt at drawing a fish in a river. That's the environmental hazard one. And with these hazards, there's also got to be specific phrases. These are known as risk and safety phrases. So if I highlight these two here, these are the risk phrases. So some vapors may notice that there's a toxic if swallowed or fatal on contact with skin on their e-liquid bottles. That is termed as a risk phrase. And also on your bottles you may have keep locked up out of reach of children, in case of contact with eyes, contact with skin, etc. Seek medical advice immediately. They're examples of safety phrases. Now, in 2008, the EU passed the CLP regulation, and that has come in to force in the UK and the EU. Basically in June of this year. So it is now the end of July, so it's had pretty much 2 whole months to get into the e-liquid labelling and manufacturing system. So, as it says, this came in 2008, but actually came into force in January 2009, including in the UK, and CLP is classification, labelling and packaging regulations. Can't get my words straight today. So how does it change the labelling from what we know as chip? Basically you get ever so slightly different hazard pictograms, and as you notice here it's GHS, and GHS stands for Global Harmonized System, which is essentially a United Nations system, pretty much making all chemicals and chemical mixtures with the same warning, same phrases across the United Nations, and the UK is one of them, other members of the EU as well, and even America. So what are the changes? Instead of the orange squares, we now have red and white diamonds. Same with the black outlined images, but some of them have changed ever so slightly, like the skull and crossbones has changed, but we've got an addition of a compressed gas. We've still got the dodgy looking tree and the fish for the environmental hazard, and we've got a new one here which is respiratory sensitizer, if I'm correct, oxidizing, flammable, corrosive. And then we have the exclamation mark. The exclamation mark replaces the chip cross, which is, you know, generally harmful or caution. So instead of having the cross or even the skull and crossbones, some e-liquids these days, basically as of the start of June, would have the exclamation mark depending on the nicotine content. So now you've had a little look at the difference in the symbols. The same differences in the risk and safety phrases, they're probably going to be very, very similar, but instead of risk and safety, they're now hazard and precautionary phrases, and they'll make a little bit more sense later in the video. So let's cut back to the tabletop and have a look at a few juices and e-liquids here. Let's have a look at the Americans first. Here we go, Cutwood. The main thing to point out here is that the batch number is up this end. It's on the neck of the bottle, like you'd possibly see with drinks bottles these days. And apart from that, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of having the batch number on the bottle. I'd rather have it on the label. So let's have a look at the labels. decent health warning. It's got its ingredients, but it actually doesn't say on it whether the strength of the nicotine, even though the nicotine is down by here, and it's also on the front there. Sometimes you would like to have it with the rest of the ingredients too, and it's got very little contact information apart from there, the Instagram. So if you want to follow them, go ahead. This is not an endorsement though. The only contact that we have is that it's cut wood and it's from Los Angeles. There's no specific address, so that's an issue. And we actually don't have any CLP, that is European chemical classification, labelling and packaging symbols. So this juice is, in essence, it's not compliant to the TPD as it suggests in the draft regulations from the Department of Health, because it's got no warnings, it doesn't have the full contact information on it, it doesn't have the ingredients listed in decreasing order of concentration or quantity. So yeah, as it looks, it's not decent label, blah blah blah, but it's not compliant, is it? So let's have a look at a UK example. Some of you may know this brand. It's got the percentage strength on it. It's got the use by date on it, which wasn't on the cut wood. It's got the 18 warning, which is a good sign, and it's got the old toxic label on it. Yes, this isn't recently bought, so it's not up to standard, but it still tells you that it's PG. Just about, there we are, make it out. But what it has got on it, it's got the manufacturer's address there on the bottom, right here. It's got the normal health warnings. It's got the ingredients at the top, and yeah, it's got your safety phrases and all that. So this is better than the cut wood, even though the toxic label is out of date. Where have I found a batch number on it? Yes, I have. There it is. That's the batch number. I wish I could get this to focus properly. But there we are. There you go. There's your batch number. It's got the capacity. It's got the logo. It's got the strength. It's got the use by date. The key point here is that it's got the nicotine European identification code. Personally, my interpretation is that because it's a mixture, it shouldn't really have it, but it does aid compliance with trading standards. They do look out for that, as far as I'm aware. So this British one is pretty much there. And let's have a look. Let's have a look at another one. Now, some American juices have European, UK distribution centres. like Space Jam, for example. Because we actually have here the toxic symbol, the no over 18s, but the no over 18s in the circle is actually trademarked to the British Phone Classification Committee. So if they don't want to be done for that, they need to put the 18 in a GHS, Global Harmonized System, CLP, Diamond, like the Skull and Crossbones. It's got the don't give to pregnant women per here. It's also got don't forget to throw it away. But yeah, we can argue the necessity for the Skull and Crossbones because you've got the Bibra report as commissioned by CETA, and we can come on to that later. It's got very good safety phrases. You can clearly see it. It's got the ingredients, it's got the manufacturer's address, it's got the distributor's address. So yeah, if you're looking to get American juices in, see if you can get it through an EU distributor, because at least then you'll be some way to compliance with all of this. So that's a very positive thing, which means it's probably more compliant with current trading standards, hole picking and CLP, or the old chip regulations that most are familiar with. Now, I can't actually see, for the life of me, a batch number. Oh wait, here we are. It's on the bottom. Yeah, it's on the bottom. Not too sure if you can make it out, but the batch number and the best buy date is on the bottom. Now, if you were doing stock taking, for example, unless you had a stock take system that used barcodes, that's not going to be much help, but this is just me being really picky. But yeah, the batch code and the best before is on the bottom. It's better to have it on the bottle, but that goes against what I said about the Catwood, which doesn't even have a best before date on it whatsoever. So this is slightly better than the Catwood. On the whole, it's got the labels, and I'm repeating myself. So let's move on to another UK one. Here we are. This is Deluxe Vapors. It's local to me. It's got your, apologies for the glare, it's got your batch code at the bottom, it's got the strength, it's got the ingredients with percentages, it's got its shop address. It doesn't tell you who it's actually manufactured by, but it's manufactured for Deluxe Vapors, which has its contact address there. It contains nicotine, blah 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 blah. So yeah, so that's better. It's got it's got attention for a start, which doesn't really work with the toxic labels. It's got the Skull and Crossbones, it's got the environmental hazard, and it's got the no over 18s in the circle. What can I say about this? It's almost there. It's not quite trading standards CLP compliant, because these pictograms need to be at least 1 centimetre square. I've measured the one on the Space Jam, and that is definitely 1 centimetre by 1 centimetre. Yes, you want to get as much information on, but you've got to get the right symbols, the right size as well. Right. Some of you may or may not have noticed that some of the e-liquid bottles in the UK and the EU, let's ignore the Americans for a bit because we know that they're quite lacking unless you have an EU distribution centre. Some of the UK EU e-liquids don't have CLP warnings on them, believe it or not. And there is a reason why they don't have CLP warnings like this, and that is because they use this document as scientific support for not including them under CLP. Well, they are included, but they're not classified under CLP as needing to be in a category and have labelling. So this document is known as the BIB report, and it's in relation to nicotine mixtures under CLP, and it goes through previous studies into the toxicity of nicotine. It covers acute oral toxicity, so that's if you swallow it, acute dermal toxicity, so that's if it's on the skin, and I personally believe that it's a really good document to determine whether you should put the GHS pictograms on or not. Right. What I said before about some of the e-liquids not being classified under the CLP. So let's have a look. Excuse me, my acrobat's being a little bit weird. So what we have here, if you can see it, is that anything below, so this symbol is below, anything below 2.5% nicotine concentration, which means below 25 milligram per mil, will not be classified under CLP. So that's great. So your labelling doesn't need to be ridiculously in depth or things like that. But if you look at the acute dermal, so that's if you get it on the skin, still it's the same. If you go below 2.5% nicotine concentration, it won't need the labelling, which we're going to have a look at and briefly saw earlier. But as you notice here specifically, with the dermal, it goes from not classified up to the worst category, which is category 1. So let's have a look at how they differ. Right, as you can see, as I said previously, anything below 2.5%, so that's this category here, doesn't require the hazard warning, the GHS pictogram as it's known, doesn't need even the word warning on it, it doesn't need the hazard statements, the hazard phrases, and it definitely does not need any precautionary statements. So this is what these are. These are the precautionary statements or safety phrases if we were still using chip. So if we go back again, please forgive me. So category 4, which is the one on the right, category 4 is anything between 2.5% nicotine concentration and up to 5% nicotine concentration. So that's from 25 milligrams per mil up to 50 milligrams per mil. And this is what you need. You need the exclamation mark, you would need the word warning, harmful if swallowed and harmful if on contact with skin. Now, under previous classifications of nicotine, it would have been the same one as category 1 or category 2, which means fatal if swallowed, fatal in contact with skin, because basically every single category for nicotine would have been these, would have, just like the example on the Deluxe Vapors one, it would have been the skull and crossbones, the environmental hazard symbol, and then it was just a mishmash of hazard phrases and precautionary phrases. So, to make it clear, anything below 25, so that's 24 milligram per mil, 6 milligram per mil, 0 milligram per mil, does not require any CLP labelling, and that is the main point. If you're using the BIBRA report to determine your necessity for labelling. Now, if we have a look again, if you're a DIYer and you get your nicotine in from the EU, for example, it falls into category 3 under the BIBRA report. So it will require a skull and crossbones, because this category 3 is from 50 milligrams per mil to 250 milligrams per mil. So that's 25% to 25% nicotine concentration. So that would cover the usual nicotine bases such as 54 milligram per mil, 72 milligram per mil, and 75 milligram per mil. But then if you go over the 75 milligram per mil, you'll need a poisons license under the UK law, for example. Other laws apply in other EU states and different countries such as America. But I digress now. So the key points would be make sure, if you're a DIYer, make sure your nicotine has one of these. Has this on, toxic if swallowed, toxic in contact with skin, and then any of these precautionary phrases. So it's like, wash your hands, don't eat and drink or smoke when using it. If swallowed, contact a poison centre or your doctor. Right, that one is actually common across all 4. A lot of them are common across all 4. Most of it is actually common sense anyway, such as rinse your mouth if you swallow it, or wear protective gloves. Some people do, some people don't, but you know, like it's an instruction. But you know, you're taking it at your own risk. This is just information on how to handle it and how to use it safely, because the law is there to do that. Right, so on that note, before I start repeating myself, I'm going to hand back to Matt in the studio and we can have a quick chat about things.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Award-winning service and products from cloud9vaping.co.uk.
Dripper selection boxes now come in 0 and 3 milligram strengths. So tell Dripper the kind of flavours you like and we'll send you 70 ml of some of the world's most exciting flavours every month. With free delivery anywhere in Europe, treat yourself to a Dripper box today.
Dripper.co.uk.
And we're back in the room. So Rhydian has been furiously scribbling notes about what you guys have been saying in chat. So over to Rhydian. Go for it, sir.
Right, the main point that I saw is that there was a lot of talk about the BIBRA report in it. and how it relates to CLP. Essentially, as Liam said, Blaze, CLP is not down to the EU. It is down to the person that creates the chemical or the chemical mixture on how it should be labelled. And Bibra backs up the labellers or informs the labellers.
Spit it out.
It informs the labeller's choice on what to put on the label in the first place. So if you have a risk-based study, such as the Bibber report, that will help you, how can I put it? If trading standards come at you going, no, it doesn't have the right labels on it, you can actually go, well, actually, here is the evidence. There's my hands. This is the evidence to support our choice of the pictograms or lack of. It's nothing more. It's not law. It is advice. It's done by a registered toxicologist, so they know what they're talking about.
Okay.
There was a comment about QR codes. Unfortunately, under CLP, it's got to be written down. Well, it's got to be readable in a specific type of font. So QR codes aren't allowed. Tactile triangles, depending on your nick strength and what classification of labelling it comes under, you may or may not need one, but you can still have the tactile triangle on the top of the cap, as was mentioned in chat. And I'd like to stress that anything below 25 milligram per milliliter or 2.5% nicotine concentration is not classified under CLP whatsoever if you're using the Bibber report to support your choice or make an informed choice there. Now, Rob Tavey asked a very good question. What happens if it's exactly 5% or exactly 25% nicotine concentration? Right, I know the chart wasn't the best, but if it's greater than 5%, which means 5.1, 5.05%, and that and the like, would have to have category 3 information on it. And if it was 25 on the dot, it would still have the category 3 information on it.
So what you're saying there is always trip up to the highest one. So if it's dead on the money, it would be the higher.
Yeah, that would be. That's from my personal experience of the regulations.
Okay.
And there was a comment about if it doesn't have CLP on the labels, you're not legally allowed to sell them. My interpretation, and it's my interpretation alone, it may not be the correct one, there are better qualified people out there. If you have, because it's under, the product falls under the General Product Safety Directive, which is another one from the EU. If there are standards or regulations which apply to the product, those standards or regulations must be met. And in this case, e-liquid is a chemical-based product, therefore it should meet the CLP regulations to go on sale. And
okay,
that's where it ends as far as I'm concerned. If it doesn't have it, maybe it shouldn't be on the shelves.
Right, I'm going to play a bit of devil's advocate now. I've opened up a vape shop and I've got myself a load of liquids. They're in bottles that basically say the nicotine strength. They will say the name of the company. They will say the address of the company. They will say the flavour, and they will say the PG and VG ratio, and nothing else. Where does that stand? Currently, under CLP won't work, but because the products
e-liquid products meet or cross over so many different regulations but don't have a specific one for them, you've got to apply the regulations as best you can.
Mm-hmm.
In that scenario, from my point of view, it tells you the PG/VG ratio and the nicotine strength. But what if it's got other flavorings that, for example, are known to be an irritant at a particular strength, such as vanillin or menthol?
Mm-hmm.
They should be listed.
Okay, but is there currently any legal requirement for anyone to do that?
I'm going to stick my neck out and say yes, but I
Okay.
can't give the reason.
Right, okay.
It's one of those gut feelings from being in the business.
Right.
But I'm sure if anyone asked someone with more knowledge than I do, you'd get a better answer.
I'm not about to say that I'm going to start a shop tomorrow and do this. Someone's going to ask the question, okay? As simple as that. I mean, nothing's been set in stone as if, there's no TPD yet. There is, but there's nothing enforced yet. So we don't know what they're going to be doing 100%, do we?
True. One thing I did mention at the start is to have a little look forward to what the labels would look like under TPD. Some of the people in chat that were commenting that you'd have to have 30% of the label covered up with a health warning. We don't want that. We don't need it. And you'd probably have to have a ridiculous pull-off label or wrap-around label or a leaflet.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need that at the moment, because all the information that we need to put on there is relevant to the risk of the product, the contents of the product, and how you handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I use the example of the Space Jam juice again,
Yep.
which is a very good example of the imported ones, if that information is on there and it's readable, there's no problem. But yeah, it still needs a little bit of an improvement here and there,
Okay, the other question I would like to ask is, going on that chart you had with the nicotine percentages and concentrations.
Yeah.
That is assuming, I would presume, that the would-be regulators would use that chart and use that report.
It would be nice if they did. But we can't guarantee it.
No, I mean, they could quite easily turn around and say that 3 milligram is fatal if swallowed. Yeah, they could easily mandate that you put that on a bottle.
They could, yeah. And some trading standards do expect fatal on contact with skin or fatal if swallowed on all the nicotine strengths, as I mentioned. But we know that it's not true. We have the science to say that it's not true, so we need to educate them. And then if they want to listen to us and go, oh, look at this report, this is what we're using to decide what our labels show, and then if they want to accept that information, all the better for UK e-liquids.
Yeah.
And American as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Okay, have we got anything else to add, or should we quickly go to the next ad break before the next VT? What do you want to do?
I think I'll take a break. That was quite tough.
Okay, so what we're going to do, folks, we're going to go to an ad break. I know it's close between the two, but bear with us. We've got stuff to squeeze in tonight. So after that, we'll be looking at some bits and bobs and stuff. And there, I'm covering up the fact I couldn't find the adverts. See you in a moment.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of Vapefest.tv.
LP Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and e-liquids. Proud sponsors of vaping entertainment on Vapor Trails TV.
Okay, we're back. So, right, I've now got a VT lined up. Now, this is the kind of Vapefest related thing. This is of a dripper I picked up on Saturday when I was at Vapefest. So, I'm not going to waffle too much about it. I'll let me do that in the past. Cinema. Hello. So, yesterday I was at Vapefest. I was just there for the day. And I picked up, well, the only real big purchase I made yesterday was a Snapdragon RDA from Edenmods. I had a stand there. Never actually met the guys before. I did a review many moons ago on their Rose when they first released that. So it was nice to have a quick chat with them and buy something from them. So yeah. So what we're going to do? We're going to go down and have a quick look at it. I'm going to do a build on it, and then we'll come back up here and I'll do the vapey thing. So and there'll probably be a bit of a time gap between the build and the actual vapey thing because I want to give it a good run through, like, so we shall see how that goes. Here we have then the Snapdragon in its tube. Quite minimalist packaging actually, which is not a bad thing. Apparently it's designed and engineered and assembled in the UK. We like that. So we just removed the top of the tube, and that's probably far too close to the camera. It is. So there's only two things in this tube really. You've got one Allen key, yet another bloody Allen key, and the ATI itself. There's nothing else in this tube at all, so we can just get rid of that. Right. We shan't have a close up look at the Allen key because it's an Allen key, innit? Right, so here is the ATI as it comes. So it comes with this rather attractive, I think that's PTFE tip. It's quite nice, quite like that. And let's have a look at the base. It says there's Snapdragon version 1.0 B1, so batch 1 I presume that to mean version 1, so possibly at some other point there'll be a version 2 or something like there was with the Rose. Let's have a quick look at this center post here, or the 510 connector. I believe that to be adjustable. It is indeed moving. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Just for comparison's sake, actually, I don't know if any of you remember the Rose by Eden, but it's got very similar styling. Here is my Rose V1. You can't really see there. The lighting's not too good, but I've even got my forum handle engraved on the bottom, which is nice. And again, that was version 1, batch 1, so you can call me an early adopter if you like. But they've got very similar styling on the airflow control, whereas this was literally just one air hole, and you just cut that off by twisting that. Well, you could, but I haven't used this for so long it's probably seized up. But yeah, this one, you spin this around. There we go. So you've got 3 air holes there, and on the other side 3 air holes. So you can just basically mirror on each side. I'm not entirely sure if you can do just a single core. Let's have a quick look. I'll spin this round to the next set of air holes. Let's check the other side. Yeah, so it looks to be a dual core only device. Let's get a sacrificial thing to grip this while I take the top cap off. There we are. It is quite a tight fit. Let's have a look inside the top cap. It is fairly reduced inside there. Pointy thing, please. Here we go. Right, so you can see that it's it's curved in the top, so it's like a dome. So this is where the actual deck of the atomizer is going to sit. So you've got very little space in there, you know, for vapor to form. So that should serve to you know, to concentrate your flavour. Let's have a look at the deck now. This is really what interested me when I took a look at this yesterday. So this is where the airflow is going to come out on these two holes here. So the idea being you put your coils directly over that, which should hopefully mean that you'll get not an awful lot in the way of leaks, because this is quite deep here. We're probably looking at around about 5 mil, I'd say. But what was particular of interest to me is look at the way you grip the wire. You've essentially got two clamps. Okay. Now what is, and you're not going to be able to make this out on the video, I'm afraid, but well, a lot of the time I use these grub screw methods. They go down into the posts, and you've got a chance of cutting your wire. These are completely, well, they're not hollow, so the grub screws stop when they hit the bottom part of this. We call it a clamp posts, yeah. So as soon as I hit the bottom part of that, it's going to stop. So the idea being is you cannot cut your wire with it, but what you can do is basically grip your wire much better. So let's get my Allen key on this, and it's just now this is going to be the first time I'm going to build this, because I've literally literally straight new out the packet. So you can see I've opened up the post there. You can just about see actually the grub screw there on that side. So the idea is that you know, you don't cut your wires. It makes it better for a nickel build. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to find myself something to pop the atomizer on, which I should have done before starting this video, really, shouldn't I? Because that would be clever. So I'll just clean this up a little bit. But what better to use than Rosie's own rebuilding stand? So let's just pop that on there. Oh, it's covered in juice. I'll just screw that onto the 510 holdy thing. There we go. So then, here's some coils I prepared earlier. Two of these. These are 0.35mm Canfol coils. Not Canfol, what am I saying? Ni200 coils. What that works out in AWG terms, I don't know. I can't remember these things. But whatever. Just go into a conversion thingamajig and do a search. You'll probably find what you need. Right. Yeah. So I'll just pop these on these rods just in order to keep a hold on these coils. Smaller rods would be a good idea, Matt. It's not a tight fit or anything. It's just to aid me in keeping hold of these. I hate doing this sort of stuff on camera. I really do. It's right. Where do I put the Allen key? There is where I put the Allen key. I need that. Okay, so the idea is that you get your wire, slot it into each side like that. I'm just going to rest it on these on here for the minute, and let's get the other side as well. This could be a bit fiddly on camera. Okay, you would have seen a jump cut there because I cheated and basically did this. Actually, when I had it up more up close to me, I actually did notice. An addendum to my earlier thing, you can single coil it. I forgot to notice, or I didn't notice, that there's a third slot there, so you can just have the airflow coming through one or the other. So that's a nice thing. So you've got 3 slots there in order for your airflow to happen. But as you can see, I've got it set up for dual coils. This is actually quite an easy thing to build. It's just fiddly because I have to reach quite far away and can't really get a good eye on it because of the fact it's on a camera. But yeah, it's not actually that tricky. you basically just grip, you know, put your 2 wires in there, just get your thumb in there, just screw it down and on to the next one. But no cutting of wires, it's got a nice solid connection. So I like that. So what I need to do now is wick this up, don't I? So I've got some rayon cut to size, at least I hope it's the right size. Oh yeah, easily. Let's just twist that a little bit more. And I have of course test fired this, so I'll show my bed doing that right now. Skizzers, some skizzers. So to cut off the ends, I've just twisted my thumb and forefinger. Probably don't need that much wicking material really. Trim that all down. I need something pointy in order to in order to tuck this down. So I would imagine, as one does with drippers, you just tuck it down in the little wells here. There, right. Just keep lighting the edge so it doesn't get caught in. So I'm going to raise that one up a little bit so it's touching all that wire. Probably a good idea to get some juice around those O-rings actually, because they really are tight. Right, needs to be tightened down there. Okay, good. So let's just get this on a mod and well, actually I won't do that on camera here. I'll do that on the close up stuff. So there we go, that's all built, and let me stick the top cap on there. That's much easier now. And the drip tip. And I'll give it a test fire and then come back and tell you what I think of it. So first impressions and all that. So hello. So this is now the day after I just did the close up section. This is coming from work, so I thought I'd record my thoughts. I've had pretty much an entire day of using this thing now. I've gotten through a fair amount of liquid with it. It's sitting on top of my DNA 200 mod. Currently reading at 0.16 ohms. I've got it set at 50 watts and at 450 degrees Fahrenheit, and that seems to be the sweet spot for this build. So let's first talk about what this atomizer is. And what it is a flavour monster. In all honesty, I can say that I have never had an atomizer that produces this much flavour. The Derringer comes close, and that has been my personal benchmark for some time now. But this does top it. What it is not is a cloud chaser's dream. It does produce respectable cloudage. I've currently got in here some 50/50 PGVG liquid, and it's not too bad for cloud production, but I've seen better, to be fair. So that's what it is and that's what it isn't. It's not the airiest of draws. Let's put it this way: you mouth to lungers out there who might want to check this out. It's very good for a mouth to lung hit, and that's basically what I've been doing with it. Here's another one, in case you haven't seen enough already. And I've got that set at the 3 air holes fully open. There's ever so slightly too much resistance to a full lung hit, so it's a mouth to lung atomizer, to be honest, and I'm perfectly happy with that. It is a nice change of pace. So let's talk price. The price is, well, I paid at Vapefest in cash £80, 80 British pounds. On their website, it's going for 85 quid, and presumably plus P&P. I don't know exactly because I've not ordered it from the website. So, but one would reasonably assume P&P's extra on top. So you probably look at about 90 quid delivered, I would say. So before some of you go, oh, that's a bit expensive for an atomizer. Yes, it is if you compare it to the Chinese ones. Let's just talk genuines here. Let's not talk clones. Let's talk genuines. You know, for example, the CLT version 3, I think this one is. I believe that set me something in the region of about 20 or 30 quid. And I picked up some other genuine RDAs, you know, Chinese manufactured ones, for a lot less than 80 quid. The Derringer, which has been my benchmark for flavour, that retails at 60 quid, or there in a region of, depending on where you go. And I've got 2 of those. So I'm not exactly shy to actually spend the money on a quality piece of kit. And in fairness, this is a quality piece of kit. The machining is good. Very, very good indeed. The tolerances are spot on. The top cap is a pain to remove. Although happily you don't need to remove it once it's in place. You can just drip through the top, you know, take the drip tip out and just get your liquid and just drip it straight in. Which I'm going to do now. It does hold a fair old whack of e-liquid, to be honest. It's got a pretty deep juice well. I have had it leak, but that's because I overfilled it. That's typical of the dripper, yeah? You overfill it, it's going to leak. But if you're reasonable with it, and I was sticking around 20 to 30 drops at a time, no problems at all. Okay, so let's talk pros and cons on this. Actually, no, before I do that, let's just carry on with the build quality on this. It is manufactured from, I believe, 316 grade stainless steel. It is designed and manufactured entirely in the UK, which would explain the price somewhat, because UK labour and materials is never going to be as cheap as, say, in China. Okay, so you know, you do get what you pay for, and you're paying for a UK designed and manufactured atomizer. That's why it's 80 quid, 85 quid, or whatever it is, you know. So I've got no real complaints there. So yeah, let's talk a couple. There are a couple of little niggles with it. If you put too much power through this top cap gets very, very hot. It's warm at the moment, and it's fine. You know, I can grab that, and it's not a problem. But if you really, really overpower this thing, it's going to get very hot, and it's going to get unbearably hot. I've actually whacked this thing up to 120 watts, and it didn't handle it that well. But that's not what it is designed for. It's designed for a nice, flavoursome vape, and you don't have to put an awful lot of power in it to get it. The other little niggle with it, which I've since conquered, is the bottom section that actually holds onto the 510 connector and everything else in the airflow control ring. That is reverse threaded, so you can have a risk of when you're taking it off the atomizer, it can loosen. You need to make sure that's done up really, really tight, otherwise you're not going to get a good connection and you're going to get misfires, especially with nickel wire. I first noticed it, I had it on here, and the temperature, the ohms reading wasn't quite right, and I just got a burnt shot straight in the mouth, and it wasn't pleasant. I worked out why that was, and that was because the base wasn't done up tight enough. So you get that tight. Remember, it's a left-hand thread, so you turn it the opposite way you would expect to tighten something up. You try and loosen it, and you'll tighten it, and you get the idea. But that's the only real thing. Once you've got that sorted out, not really a problem at all. So yeah. I'm really, really happy with this atomizer, and it's going to remain a favourite of mine for a very, very long time, I'm sure. Other atomizers will come and go. This one is a keeper, and I'm going to really, really enjoy using this. So, in conclusion, if you don't mind spending the money this costs, and some of you might not. It's a quality atomizer. The build quality is superb. It's going to last you a long time. You know, it's a fair old whack of metal on there, so you're getting what you pay for. And I'm really, really happy with it. And I'm very, very happy I picked it up. I wasn't going to. I was thinking, I was thinking 80 quid's a lot of money to spend. I didn't have a massive budget to go to Vapefest with. But you know what? I'm happy. I am happy with this device. So that'll do. Ta-ta.
Tristan's gutted.
We're back on air, Rid. Careful.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks for the counting.
It snuck up on me as well. So there we go. That was a Snapdragon, and I assure you, this is a mouth to lung hit. Okay, but yeah, as I said, the vapor production is not immense. It's good enough, but the flavour is what this thing's all about. They did have some in stock on Monday when I checked the website. But apparently some other places have them in stock as well, according to Brian 2K. So if you search around, you might get lucky. To my mind, it is worth the money. I know some people in chat did scoff at the cost of 85 quid. Again, I do say it is designed, machined, manufactured entirely in the UK. Therefore, labour costs have to come in. Anyway, we better be going, hadn't we? What's up next week, Rid?
Oh, we're going to have Mr. Liam from Vapors in Power on to have a little chat about how they did at Vapefest last weekend. It's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to that. And Tristan, yes, I know they were right next door to you, and I was going to come and say hello, but you were several people deep, and I thought, you know what, I'll leave him to it. So, next time, mate. Anyway, don't forget tomorrow night we've got Keith and Bob being the old gits. I think they're going to go on about Vapefest a bit, if the mood takes them, like. And then we're back around to Tuesday with Marco, and so on and so forth. You know the drill by now, don't you? So keep an eye on our Facebook group. If you haven't joined it yet, you really should, because we're yakking away in there quite nicely. It's fun. Anyway, so it's good night from me, and it's good night from him.
Good night.
Ta-ta.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of Vapetrails.tv.